Lilith sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the sunlight streaming in through the window. She felt a warm glow on her face, but inside her heart, there was a storm. Every day, she moved through a world that expected her to act in a certain way just because she was a girl. Why do I have to be quiet all the time? She thought to herself. Why can't I speak up like the boys do? These thoughts chased each other in her mind, making her feel both sad and angry. At school, Lilith lived in a mix of joy and pain. During lessons, she loved reading aloud and sharing her ideas. But her classmates always turned to the boys for answers. They laughed when Lilith spoke up, making her feel smaller. She remembered one day in class when a teacher asked a question. Lilith raised her hand confidently, ready to share her thoughts. But the teacher called on a boy instead. Lilith's heart sank. She could feel the eyes of her friends on her, wondering why she didn't try harder to be loud or daring like him. Later, as she walked home, Lilith felt invisible. She watched the world around her. The bright colors of the flowers along the street made her smile, but the smile quickly faded. She thought about her dreams of being a writer. What if I cannot be heard? She wondered. If she could not speak her heart, how could she share her stories? This question lingered in her mind. It felt heavy like a backpack full of rocks. She knew the world could be different, but why was it not? As Lilith reached her street, she saw her brother playing soccer with friends. They shouted and ran, full of laughter. They were free in a way Lilith didn't feel. She wanted to shout too, to join in the fun. But instead, she walked quietly past them. Thoughts of soccer and sunshine turned back to face the problem inside her. Why did she feel like she had to be quiet? Why did being a girl mean fewer chances? At dinner, her mother spoke about the news she had seen. The words gender equality floated in the air. Lilith perked up. She had seen this term in her school book before. It meant that everyone should have the same rights, no matter if they were a boy or a girl. But why did it feel so far from her own life? Why did she struggle to see it in her own world? These questions bounced in her head as she played with the food on her plate. That night, Lilith lay in bed, feeling restless. The stars outside twinkled like tiny hopes. I want to change this, she thought. I want to tell my story. But how? She felt small but dreamed big. Lilith closed her eyes, thinking of her favorite stories and the strong girls in them. They were brave. They faced challenges and found ways to speak out. She wanted to be like them. Lilith wished for the courage to break free from her feelings and say what was on her mind. As she drifted into sleep, a new fire began to grow inside her. Tomorrow could bring change, she thought. She would find a way to break the silence that held her back. Tomorrow is a new day, she whispered to herself. It's time to find my voice. The next day at school, Lilith felt nervous. She had promised herself to speak up more. The bell rang and students filled the classroom. As she sat down, her mind raced. Today, she would share her thoughts about gender equality. But what if no one listened? As the teacher started the lesson, anxiety bubbled inside her. She watched her classmates, who seemed so comfortable while discussing their ideas. It made her wonder if she could ever feel that way. When the teacher posed a question, Lilith quickly raised her hand. This was her chance. To her surprise, the teacher called on her. Lilith's heart raced and she struggled to speak. I think girls should have the same chance to share, she stammered. Some classmates laughed, whispering things. Why does she care? It's not a big deal, one boy said. Lilith felt hot in her cheeks. Doubts crept in. It seemed like they thought her feelings didn't matter. After class, Lilith sat with her friend Amina, who often spoke out in class. Lilith shared her feelings. Sometimes I think talking is hard, she said. Amina nodded, her expression serious. It is not easy, she replied. People around us have strong ideas about boys and girls. They want us to fit into those ideas. Lilith thought about this. She realized that her fears were not hers alone. Many girls face this problem. As they talked, another friend, Jake, joined them. He overheard their conversation and chimed in. It's all just a part of growing up. Guys are just louder, he said. Lilith frowned. But why? It shouldn't be like that. Jake shrugged. It's just how things are. His attitude annoyed her. That's not right. She felt the fire inside her begin to grow. Lilith wanted to make him see, but Jake seemed so sure he was right. Later, during lunch, Lilith watched the older boys at their table. They were sharing jokes and funny stories with loud laughter. The girls sat quieter, passing smiles and exchanging whispers. Lilith wondered if things would ever change. As she looked around, she saw other girls not speaking out either. And her heart sank. The world felt unfair. And she wanted to shout about it. But how? As days turned into weeks, Lilith began to feel more frustration. The teacher's voice grew distant when she spoke. It felt that her opinions were often ignored. During group projects, the boys took the lead and the girls followed. Lilith felt stuck between wanting to help and being pushed aside. She wanted to remind everyone that all voices mattered. One afternoon, Lilith found herself alone in the library, thinking deeply. She looked through books on leaders and strong girls. They had faced obstacles and broken barriers. She realized they had all started like her. They had a dream and they believed in that dream. Lilith started to feel a bit stronger, like maybe she too could bring change one step at a time. While reading, she noticed a poster on the wall encouraging students to participate in an upcoming debate. At first, she felt nervous and shy. Could I do it? She asked herself. The thought of joining filled her with hope. Here was a chance to speak, to share her voice, and maybe even help others do the same. That heartwarming thought took root, growing into courage. Lilith decided right then that she would join the debate. Tomorrow would be a day to take control. It would be a day of action. The next day, Lilith walked into school with a mix of excitement and fear. Today was the day she would speak in the debate. She felt her heart rate quicken as she imagined standing in front of everyone. Lilith wanted her voice to be heard. As she walked to her classroom, a group of boys laughed together, and she heard one of them say, "Girls should just smile and stay quiet." Those words hit Lilith like a cold wave. Her courage started to waver as doubt seeped into her mind. In debate practice that afternoon, she saw her classmates eyeing her, some whispering. Jake sat across from her looking relaxed. "What can you add to the debate?" he smirked. Lilith felt frustration bubble up. "I have ideas," she muttered, but the words felt small. She wanted to speak loudly, but the pressure from everyone around her made it hard to breathe. The weight of their expectations pushed down on her like a heavy blanket. As they began, the teacher gave a summary of the rules. Lilith listened closely. When it was her turn to talk, she tried to brush away the uncertainty swirling in her mind. But when she started speaking, she felt the eyes of her classmates on her, judging her words. "Everyone should be treated the same, no matter if they are a boy or a girl," she said, though her voice trembled. Some students whispered to each other, ignoring her. Jake leaned back, arms crossed, and rolled his eyes. "Here we go again," he muttered loud enough for her to hear. Lilith felt her heart sink and anger filled her. She wanted to respond but instead fell silent. Why did people like Jake dismiss her thoughts? Who decided that girls had no right to speak out? After the practice, Amina approached her looking worried. "You were good, Lilith," she said, trying to support her friend. But Lilith could feel her own disappointment. "It doesn't feel good when people don't listen," Lilith replied, her voice low. "Why do they think our opinions are not worth anything?" Amina sighed. "They just don't understand, Lilith. Some people think strong voices are for boys only." Those words hung in the air like shadows. Lilith realized how deep the issue truly ran. It wasn't just about her feelings. It was about a whole system that pushed girls down. That made her even more determined to speak out. But the fear of failure clawed at her. The next day, Lilith heard about another class where girls spoke out only to be interrupted by boys. The girls felt angry, yet many kept silent. This pattern troubled Lilith a lot. Why did no one care? Why was this still happening? As the debate day approached, Lilith found herself facing growing pressure. Her classmates wanted her to stay quiet and blend in. Lilith felt their whispers drowning her thoughts. "You're just making it worse," one girl said. "People won't change their minds." Those words struck hard. Feelings of doubt rushed back, and Lilith started to wonder if she could really make a difference. Maybe her voice didn't matter after all. Yet in her heart, she felt the spark of motivation lighting a fire. Despite the distractions and voices around her, Lilith still held on to her dream. She was tired of being quiet. It was time to fight back even harder against the tide of misunderstanding. Walking home, she thought about all she had learned. She had to stand strong. Change was not easy, but it was worth fighting for. The words began to form in her mind. "I cannot let them silence me." Lilith was ready to push through. No matter the challenges that lay ahead, the day of the debate finally arrived. and Lilith felt a storm of emotions swirling within her. As she walked into the school, she felt a mix of excitement and fear. The cafeteria, where the debate was to take place, buzzed with students. Many were chatting and getting ready, but for Lilith everything felt heavier. She had spent all night thinking about her speech and what she wanted to say. Today was her chance to stand up for herself and all the girls like her. But as she took her seat, she suddenly felt small and uncertain. Jake was at the stage, laughing with his friends. He was already planning to make jokes about any girl who dared to speak up. This thought made Lilith's heart race faster. What if he made fun of her? What if the whole school laughed at her? The whispers of doubt crept back into her mind. She could almost hear them, filling her with worry. "You will embarrass yourself," they said. Lilith took a deep breath and closed her eyes for a moment. She thought about all the ideas she wanted to share. The bigger picture pushed through her fears. This was not just a debate. It was about proving that every voice mattered. But she also knew the risk. The bullies might laugh at her. If she failed, how would she bear the shame? Her stomach twisted at the thought, and she felt trapped between her dream and her fear. Finally, it was time for her side to speak. As her name was announced, Lilith stood up. Her legs felt shaky and her hands trembled. She tried to focus on the crowd but saw the sneers from some boys in the back. Jake was shaking his head, and that made Lilith's stomach drop. Could she really do this? In that moment, she nearly turned around and sat down. But as she stood there, a heartwarming memory flashed through her mind. She remembered reading about strong women who had faced challenges much greater than this. They inspired her to believe in herself. If they could fight against the tide, maybe she could too. For the first time, she felt a flicker of bravery rising inside her. She took a deep breath and stepped forward, ready to speak. As she began her speech, her voice grew steadier. "I believe everyone deserves the same chance to be heard," she said. "Girls are just as smart and capable as boys." The words flowed more confidently. Lilith felt a small surge of hope as she spoke. But then the laughter erupted from the crowd. Jake and his friends shouted, "Sit down, girl." The sound pierced her like an arrow. Every ounce of her courage wavered. Lilith felt tears prickling her eyes. They were trying to bring her down. At that moment, she faced a crucial decision. Should she keep talking, even with the laughter ringing around her? Or if she backed down, would she lose her chance? Would giving up send a message that she did not believe in herself? And then she saw Amina across the crowd, nodding encouragingly. "Keep going." Amina's voice echoed in her mind, giving her strength. In the face of opposition, Lilith made her choice. She took another deep breath, pushed her fear aside, and raised her voice even louder. In that moment, the stakes had never been higher. She risked her own reputation, the chance for acceptance, and the possibility of facing more bullying. But Lilith knew she could no longer allow herself to be silenced. It was time to stand strong and continue her fight for herself and her truth. Lilith stood at the front of the room, her heart pounding loudly in her chest. The laughter and jeers from Jake and his friends felt like cold knives piercing through her. But as she focused on her message, a calm surged inside her. "This is my moment," she thought. "I will not let fear take control." With each word, Lilith felt the atmosphere shift. This is more than just a debate. Gender equality matters to everyone, she stated with growing power. She was no longer only talking about girls. She was talking about fairness for all. With every heartbeat, the room grew quiet, and she could feel the eyes of her peers on her. For an instant, she thought she saw surprise in Jake's expression. Then Lilith felt the weight of not just the moment but everything around her. She remembered the faces of the girls who were often silenced. She thought of her friends who wished to speak out but felt they could not. "But that must change," she declared, her voice rising. "Being a girl should not mean being less. Everyone has a right to speak." As she spoke, something clicked deep within her. Lilith began to challenge the expectations placed on them. "I see strong girls sitting quietly. Why are they ignored? It's not right." The room hung on her words, and she could sense the surprised gasps of students around her. This was no longer just a speech, she was challenging the very ideas that held them back. With her courage growing, she pointed towards Jake and his friends. "You laugh at us, but your words show your fear. You fear that girls will take up space and that we can be powerful too." The air crackled with tension. Some students cheered softly, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Suddenly, the teacher spoke up, trying to regain control. Lilith, we want everyone to have a voice here. You need to respect the others' opinions too. That comment felt like cold water over a fire. Lilith took a step back but then lifted her chin. I respect the opinions of others, but disrespect takes away our chance to grow. The urgency built inside her. This was not just about speaking up, it was about breaking down walls. Have you ever listened to what we want? Lilith said loudly. We are smart, we have ideas, and we matter. Our voices should not be drowned out. There was a ripple of murmurs as more students reacted to her words. Some seemed moved while others looked worried. Then Jake shot back. You still don't get it. Girls should just stick to simple things. His words stung, but Lilith pushed through the hurt. She turned her gaze to the students who had stayed quiet. Who believes that? She called out. A few saw her raw strength. They raised their hands weakly. Her heart raced at their courage. As a new wave of support began to spread, Lilith felt a tidal wave of mixed emotions pressing in. Excitement surged through her, pulling her higher. But there was fear too. What if this backlash turned against them? What if it made things worse for all of them? Yet she stood taller against these thoughts, driven by the momentum building around her. She took one last deep breath, filled with hope. She made a final push. Change does not come without risk. It comes when we are brave enough to stand together. In that moment she made it clear. They all had to take this fight for equality into their own hands. The applause broke through the room like sunlight after a storm, and Lilith felt something lift within her. She had taken action. She had taken a stand. In that fearless moment, she faced not just her fear but also the powerful norms holding them all back. And somehow, Lilith knew this was only the beginning. After Lilith finished her speech, the room erupted in mixed reactions. Some students clapped loudly, their hands coming together with excitement and support. Others simply sat still, unsure of how to respond. Lilith could feel the energy shift around her. She had taken a big step, and now there was a new air filled with hope. The fear that once held her back slowly began to fade. As the noise settled, the teacher stepped forward to acknowledge Lilith's courage. Thank you for sharing your voice. Everyone deserves a chance to speak, he said, and for the first time, his eyes shone with respect. Lilith felt a rush of happiness at his words, proud of herself for standing up. Maybe this was a small victory. She had shown that girls could be strong and expressive too. However, not everyone felt the same way. In the hall after class, Jake approached Lilith, his face marked by a mix of anger and confusion. What was that all about? He asked, crossing his arms. Girls arguing in this way isn't cool. Lilith stood firm in her place. It's not about being cool. It's about being heard, she replied. Jake shrugged, unwilling to see the bigger picture. Many others felt stuck between the old ways that pushed them down and the new ideas Lilith had introduced. Some students started to discuss Lilith's speech. A group of girls came to her later that day, smiling brightly. You were amazing, one girl exclaimed. I felt inspired to speak up too. Lilith's heart swelled with joy. It was nice to know others felt the same way. That evening, Lilith received a message from Amina. Let's have a girls' group meeting tomorrow, Amina suggested in her text. Lilith was excited about the idea. Maybe it could be a place for girls to share their thoughts freely. They could talk about their own stories and practice speaking without fear. A spark of hope ignited as she imagined a room filled with girls encouraging each other. But not everything felt entirely bright. The next day, some students pushed against the changes. A few boys teamed up, laughing when they saw Lilith and Amina in the hallway. Who do you think you are? Jake sneered. Stung. But Lilith tried to shake it off. She reminded herself of the support she had gained. The laughter didn't break her spirit. While some students welcomed the discussion of gender equality, others resisted. A group of boys even planned to undermine the girls' meeting by causing distractions. Lilith heard whispers about it in passing. Instead of being discouraged, Lilith took it as another cue to strengthen her resolve. She realized she would need to tackle challenges ahead, but she also knew she was not alone. As days went by, evidence of change began to appear, even if small. Girls started raising their hands more often in class. Suddenly, the boys were listening. One day, Lilith noticed that many of her classmates were speaking out in discussions. The sense of strength among them grew, and the laughter that once pushed them down transformed into encouragement. At the next meeting, about 10 girls gathered. filling the room with warmth and laughter. They shared their fears together and began planning ways to empower each other. "We should discuss our ideas openly," Amina suggested, her smile bright. Each girl shared something they wanted to achieve, big or small. And by the end of the meeting, Lilith felt a new energy pulsing among them. It felt like blooming flowers in spring. While it was clear that the issues were far from over, the first seeds of change had been planted. Lilith felt pride in the victories, both the small ones they celebrated and the collective strength they were building. Even as confrontations came, Lilith understood that change needed time. She had begun to break barriers, and though the journey would be long, hope filled their hearts. Lilith now knew they could face anything together. As the days passed after the debate, Lilith saw a noticeable change among her classmates. Some girls began to express their thoughts more openly in class, their voices rising in confidence. It felt like something new was happening. Each time a girl spoke up, Lilith's heart filled with joy. Their small victories chipped away at the old beliefs that kept them quiet. Change was not only about her. It was about everyone learning and growing together. The school, too, began to feel the impact of Lilith's speech. Teachers started to discuss gender equality in classes. During an assembly, the principal spoke about the need for equal voices in the school community. "Everyone's ideas matter," he said firmly, encouraging students to think carefully about respect. This was the first time many students recognized the issue in a serious way. Outside of school, word spread in the community. Parents heard their children talking about Lilith's speech at dinner tables. Lilith began to realize that their conversations reached much further. At first, she felt nervous but then excited to think she sparked discussions at home, too. It was surprising for her to understand how her courage was influencing not just her friends but also the adults around them. A few weeks later, the school held an event to promote inclusiveness, inspired by what began with Lilith's words. The Voice Day event encouraged everyone, regardless of gender, to share their stories and ideas. Posters that said, "Every voice matters," decorated the walls. Lilith felt proud seeing her message resonating throughout the school. When people began expressing their feelings freely, it was a hopeful sight. Yet Lilith knew change takes time. While many were supportive, others remained set in their ways. Some boys still resisted the idea of equality, firmly believing in old norms. They occasionally interrupted girls in class just to test boundaries. Lilith saw Amina facing this challenge one day. As Amina spoke, one boy shouted, "Sit down! Who wants to hear what you have to say?" Lilith's heart ached at the sight. She remembered her struggles, and it felt unfair to see others going through the same thing. Although they endured moments of setback, the girls also showed resilience. The open discussions created a space for them, where they could lean on each other. If one girl was attacked with words, the others surrounded her with support. Lilith felt a powerful bond among them strengthening, helping everyone keep going. They encouraged one another, understanding that all voices deserved respect. Walking through school, Lilith often noticed groups of students deep in conversation. Some were even starting to share their own stories about overcoming challenges. It was inspiring. It showed real growth. Lilith smiled at the steps they had taken, but she understood that the journey was ongoing. Even after moments of doubt, hope burned bright. The fight for fairness would continue, and Lilith felt proud to have a part in it. Together, they were paving the way for future generations. They fought not just for themselves but for each other. The ripple effect of Lilith's courage was unfolding slowly yet strongly, showing that together, change can happen with time, patience, and a belief in each other. As the school year came to an end, Lilith took a moment to reflect on everything that had happened. She sat quietly near the school garden, surrounded by blooming flowers. It was a beautiful day, the sun shining bright above. Lilith thought about her journey, from a shy girl afraid to speak up to someone who led discussions in class. She realized how much she had grown. The fear she once felt had transformed into confidence. "I took a risk," Lilith thought with a smile. Her heart swelled with pride as she remembered the voices of her friends rising in unison. They had all found ways to support each other. They grew stronger together, breaking down the old beliefs that held so many back. Lilith also thought about the challenges that still existed. Not everyone accepted the changes. Boys like Jake continued to push against what they saw as threatening to their power. That made Lilith sad but also determined. She knew that changing hearts and minds took time. Each step forward was important, even small ones. The school environment was slowly starting to reflect those shifts, but there was still much to work on. The Voice Day event had been a big success, but it was just a starting point. Lilith thought about all the girls who silently struggled to find their voices. Their journeys had not ended. For some, speaking out for the first time was terrifying. She wanted to inspire more of them. Lilith understood that while she had found her voice, others might still need encouragement to discover theirs. In her heart, she knew her journey was not finished. She still needed to meet resistance and doubt. But Lilith was ready for this challenge. She wanted to spread her message beyond her school. This summer, she planned to start a writing club focused on self-expression. The club could help girls write their own stories and share them confidently. Lilith believed everyone had a story worth telling. With this new goal, she felt an inspiring fire within her. Another thing Lilith had learned during her journey was the importance of understanding others. She now realized that Jake and his friends acted out of fear and misunderstanding. She decided that confronting their attitudes with kindness could help bridge gaps. Lilith wanted to show them that respecting all voices could bring everyone a better world. She hoped they would see that equality benefited everyone, not just girls. As the final bell rang at school, Lilith felt a wave of emotions wash over her. It had been a tremendous year full of change. She had faced her fears and stood up for what was right. Although challenges remained, she was no longer the shy girl afraid to speak in front of others. Instead, she was a strong advocate for equality. Lilith took a deep breath as she walked out of the school building, surrounded by her friends. They still faced many obstacles, but many voices uplifted her now. Together, they would continue to push for change. Lilith knew that while the path ahead was challenging, they had the strength to make their voices heard. In her heart, she believed that change was possible. The journey ahead would take time, patience, and bravery from everyone. But Lilith was hopeful. She looked forward to embracing the challenges and new opportunities to inspire others. With each step, she knew they could create a world where every voice truly matters. As the school year wrapped up, Lilith felt a wave of emotion. The writing club she started had taken off, bringing together girls from all grades. They shared their stories, fears, and hopes, finding strength in one another. Every week, the room pulsed with laughter and joy, filled with girls eager to express themselves. Lilith felt proud to see them grow. Some would read their poems aloud, while others shared their dreams. Each voice brought encouragement and comfort, creating a special bond among them. Although some boys still made jokes, it did not hurt as much anymore. Lilith could see a few of them starting to change, learning to listen more. During the last month, she noticed Jake watching the club from a distance, curious. One day, he approached Lilith after a meeting and surprised her. "I think I want to join," he admitted hesitantly. Lilith's heart raced. Could it be possible that he wanted to be part of this change? She smiled warmly. "You are welcome anytime," she replied. Taking steps towards understanding was important, and she was glad to see him open up. The year ended with a school event to celebrate the progress they had made. There was music, art, and a showcase of the girls' written works. Lilith stood by a poster displaying their favorite lines. It brought her joy to see the talent and creativity shining all around. Other students walked through the room, amazed by what they saw. The school community had changed, appreciating the power of voices that were once ignored. Lilith felt a strong sense of accomplishment, knowing their efforts were paying off. Looking back, Lilith reflected on how far she had come. From a girl who felt small to a leader who inspired others, she embraced every step of the journey. It had not been easy and there were still challenges ahead, but she felt equipped to tackle them. Her friends had become her greatest support. Amina had been by her side through it all, sharing dreams of a future where all voices would have a place. However, Lilith understood that while progress had been made, there was still much work to do in the community. The conversation around gender equality needed to continue, reaching beyond the school walls. As she stood there at the event, she felt the urge to take this message into the world outside. There were many others who still struggled to find their voices and many issues needed addressing. As the evening came to a close, Lilith gathered her friends around. "Let's not stop here," she said, her voice ringing with excitement. "We can share our stories wider. We can help others find their voice as well." Lilith's words lit a fire among them. They all nodded in agreement, filled with hope and determination. And as the sun set on that beautiful day, Lilith felt something shift inside her. What if we all took a moment to listen? She wondered aloud. What if we made space for each other's stories? What if we truly understood that every voice can change the world? These questions filled the air, causing everyone to reflect as they looked around. In that moment, Lilith knew she had sparked a change. Together, they would keep the momentum going, sharing their mission with others. It was a promise of new beginnings, full of inspiration and the chance for greater understanding. After all, every voice matters, and change starts with the courage to speak up. Who will you encourage to pursue their voice today?